All right. Good morning. We will keep admitting people here for a few more minutes and get everyone settled. If I haven't met you before, my name is Danny LaForest, and I am the Workforce Development Liaison with Greater Health Now. And I have recently taken on planning and facilitating these learning collaboratives. So we are excited to continue our learning collaborative series. It's something that we've had as a organization since before we were Greater Health Now. So we're excited to continue it. And you'll see on your screens here kind of the goal of our learning collaboratives and what we are hoping to achieve today. So we'll give it just a few more minutes to let people get logged on, and then we'll go through what today's topic is and introduce our guest presenter.
That they're still getting better. Like,
Hey, we'll go ahead and get started here as we have people trickling in. Um, so the aim of our learning collaboratives, the purpose of the learning collaboratives is to create and sustain a learning community that raises awareness and inspires personal and collective growth. And these meaningful engagement opportunities aim to ignite participants to contribute to transforming systems that foster community wellness. So today's topic, we are going over Alzheimer's awareness and approaching Alzheimer's. And this topic came up for us out of a request from our community paramedics in one of their convenings, letting us know that they are experiencing patients with Alzheimer's and dementia and wanting some more training on how to support those patients. So we reached out to the Alzheimer's Association and were able to put together a presentation that's grounded in their first responders training, but really adapted to be applicable for almost anyone, and especially our community health workers. We talk specifically about the role that you all play. So today, the topics that we're going to cover is to know the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's, to learn communication techniques for working with patients with Alzheimer's, and also to learn strategies for responding to typical behaviors of patients with Alzheimer's. And finally, to gain some knowledge about local resources and supports for patients with Alzheimer's and dementia. So with that, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. Julie Hooley is a care navigator with the Washington State chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and she comes to us with 9 years of experience in assisted living and memory care before she started with the Alzheimer's Association. So she really has great personal experience with this patient population and has some wonderful wisdom to share. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Julie, and let you start sharing your screen.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. share this one. I do this right. Okay. Um, so like Danny said, my name is Julie Hooley, and I work for the Alzheimer's Association. Um, I have worked for the Alzheimer's Association since 2020, and it's been really great after working in long-term care and memory care facilities to be kind of on this other care and support side of things. Um, this first responders training is kind of close to my heart. That's my husband and my daughter. My husband is a firefighter. And I just like to show off my daughter. I have a second one now. She's 6 months old. So if you hear any crying, that's her downstairs. Um, so let's get started. Um, 1 in 10 people age 65 and older has dementia or Alzheimer's, and 65 is pretty young when you think about it. There's even a growing group of people who are in their 50s and 40s that are being diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's. Once you get that diagnosis, of Alzheimer's, typically people survive an average of 4 to 8 years after their diagnosis. Now, it is different for everyone. You know, that we've seen people live for 20 years with a diagnosis, while others only just a few years. But in 2020, Alzheimer's and other dementias cost the nation $305 billion. Um, so if I can figure out how to do it, I'm going to pull up a quick video that goes over our facts and figures for this year. All right, can you see the YouTube screen? Okay, perfect. Okay. Get rid of that. Excuse me. Um, so what is Alzheimer's and dementia? People throw those terms around a lot interchangeably. Dementia is that big umbrella term for memory loss, other thinking abilities. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. It is not a part of normal aging, and you can have different types of dementia. There's Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia. Oh, excuse me. Or you can have a couple different types of dementia all at once. Um, it if it interferes with daily living, that's kind of the requirement for that dementia diagnosis. And we'll go over the 10 signs in just a little bit. But it's not like normal forgetting. They're unable to retrace their steps to figure out what they are forgetting. Oh my goodness, excuse me. I was afraid of this. Dementia progressively damages the brain cells and eventually affects communication, thinking, behavior, and even emotions. So on the upper left is a normal brain, and the right side is a brain affected with Alzheimer's. And you can see the difference down at the bottom. Someone explained it to me once that made sense, and they said you can have liver failure, you can have heart failure, and dementia and Alzheimer's is kind of like brain failure. Okay. So the Alzheimer's Association comes out with the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's, because everybody loses their keys, everybody forgets an appointment once in a while, and they're worried, oh my gosh, am I getting dementia? So these are the 10 warning signs that we have come up with. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. It's one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's is forgetting recently learned information. Others include forgetting important dates or events, repeatedly asking the same question, and increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on others for things or tasks once handled on their own. So if you walk into your mom's place and there's sticky notes all over in the kitchen, or she's labeled the cabinets so she remembers where things are, that might be a trigger. A typical age-related change is sometimes forgetting information, but remembering it later. You're out, you see a friend, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? I can't remember your name. But then later that day, oh, it's Sarah. That was Sarah. You remember it later. Challenges in planning or solving problems. Some people may experience new difficulties in executive functioning, and that's what we're looking for, new challenges, including developing or following a plan or difficulty concentrating. A more typical age-related change is making occasional errors when managing bills or household finances. But when you're paying the same bill over and over and over again in the same month, that might be a trigger.
I was probably spending 4 to 5 times more time
Oops.
preparing for
There we go.
something than I did, say, 5 or 10 years ago. Because of I would lose my thought, I'd lose my focus, I'd get anxious, I wouldn't get to sleep. I was thinking of this, I was in my sleep, I was thinking about what I was anxious about, which was I was trying to remember, which was I was trying to prepare, which I was trying to do. So it was really a vicious circle of, so I was able to control it a lot, so that people wouldn't see things, and there weren't things to be seen. It's what was disturbing me was what effort I had to put into to do the things I used to do more easily.
Okay. Number 3, difficulty completing familiar tasks. People living with dementia often find it hard to complete daily tasks that used to be managed with ease. Driving to a familiar place, writing a grocery list, remembering how to play a favorite card game. A typical age-related change would be occasionally needing help to use the microwave, or you have to have your grandson teach you how to use your new cell phone. That is a new technology. So, not knowing how to do that is okay. So we're going to hear from a dementia care expert about this one.
Some people have difficulty with math or with reading in a way that's unusual to them. And once again, this is a change in that person. So, for example, we all know somebody who was never able to balance their checkbook, right? So that wouldn't be a warning sign for them. But if somebody who always balanced their checkbook to the penny suddenly was paying bills, the same bill over and over, and not able to balance their finances, well, that would be a sign for them.
Okay, number 4, confusion with time and place. An individual living with Alzheimer's or dementia may lose track of dates, seasons, or the passage of time. And this this is going to be their baseline. So if you come to do like a medical assessment on them and you ask them, what year it is, that kind of thing. They're going to say, it's 1982. And then if you ask them who the president is, they might say like Richard Nixon, something like that. That's going to be their baseline. They have trouble understanding something if it's not currently happening, or they might become confused about where they are or how they got there. Excuse me. This can become more dramatic and profound in the middle to late stages of Alzheimer's. And a more typical age-related change will be getting confused about what day it is, but then figuring it out later. I have 2 kids. I barely know what day of the week it is anyway. So that's not something to worry about. Number 5, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Some individuals with Alzheimer's may experience vision problems. They actually go to their eye doctor thinking something is wrong, but their eyes are fine. It can lead to difficulty with balance, trouble reading, and problems judging distance and determining color and contrast, which can all impact driving and navigating the environment around them. Visual changes such as cataracts are a more typical age-related change. Those don't have anything to do with dementia. But this sign shows that these changes are not just about memory. It's important to think about all the other ways that someone's daily life might be impacted by changes in your brain. And we're going to hear from an expert about this one.
Alzheimer's disease is not just a disease of memory. It can affect other things too. It can affect the way that we perceive what we see. So sometimes somebody in the early stages of Alzheimer's might go to the eye doctor because they're having trouble seeing, and in fact their vision is just fine, but the way they're perceiving what they're seeing may be difficult.
New problems in words and speaking or writing. Individuals may have trouble following or joining a conversation. They may stop in the middle of a conversation and forget what they were talking about. The thought train goes completely off track. They might struggle finding the right words, calling things by the wrong name, or they may start using more descriptive terms to talk about something rather than the actual name of the item. A normal age-related change will be occasional having trouble finding the right word, but it comes to you later. So we're going to hear about Phil, who's living with Alzheimer's.
The other thing that I've increasingly been struggling with are words, which I've dealt with words my entire life, as an avid reader, as a reporter, as a writer. I struggle with them now.
Number 7, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace your steps. This sign often causes concern in people. So it's not just about losing your keys, misplacing things from time to time, but retracing your steps to find them is normal. A person with Alzheimer's may lose things and not be able to recall when it was last seen, identify the location where it was placed, or they may put things in unusual places, such as putting shoes in the refrigerator. One way to think about this is it's normal if you lose your keys, but it's not normal if you forget what keys are for. Because of the lack of executive functioning and awareness, a person may also grow increasingly suspicious of others and start accusing others of stealing. And we actually talk about this a little bit later. So we're going to hear from Ruth again about this sign.
So some people wonder if they lose their keys or their glasses or their purse, is that a sign of Alzheimer's? And one thing that I would say about that is, for most of us, we might misplace something, but then if we retrace our steps, we can usually find it. We can usually remember. For a person with Alzheimer's, sometimes they're not able to retrace their steps. Sometimes that memory is just gone. And so when they do find their keys next to the phone because they got interrupted by a phone call when they were coming in. They set their keys down in an unusual space. So there they are next to the phone. If that happened to you or me, we'd probably remember, oh yeah, the phone was ringing when I came in the door. I put down my keys. The person with Alzheimer's might not remember. They might wonder who's moving their keys around because they never put their keys by the phone. So that's just a little bit of a difference in some of the dynamics with losing things in Alzheimer's.
Okay, number 8, decreased in poor judgment. Individuals may experience change in judgment or decision making, such as using poor judgment when dealing with money, paying less attention to hygiene and grooming. This can be especially common in individuals who live alone. Making a bad decision once in a while, like forgetting to get an oil change, is a more typical age related change. So we're going to hear from Teresa, who's living with Alzheimer's.
The way I kept my house, and all of a sudden, everything was okay with me. It's like, oh, it's a pile, I'm tired. So my dining room table usually looked like it was someone's office, because I always would say I would do it tomorrow. And then my bedroom, as far as clothing, I would just put it in a corner, put it in a chair. And all of this is just, I wouldn't say it looked like I was a pet wreck, but really I was, because I never threw anything away. I always would say, I'll get to it, but I never did get to it. So just the way of my standard of living, it was actually decreasing.
Okay, number 9, withdrawal from work and social activities. As we age, it is normal to feel uninterested by family or social engagements at times. Um, I know I'm excited when plans get canceled sometimes. However, someone who's experiencing dementia-related changes may start to lose their ability to hold and follow conversations. As a result, they begin to withdraw from social encounters, hobbies that they used to enjoy. Um, they might be embarrassed to let other people know that they can't remember how to play their favorite games anymore. They may lose confidence engaging in that way. So we're going to hear from Dr. Salloway, who's another expert.
One of the most common changes and early on is the person's comfort zone shrinks a little bit, and then that gets worse throughout the course of the illness. So they're less comfortable going out, they're less motivated to do things than they were in the past. So there's some change in day-to-day functioning that way. I think people also lose confidence in their cognitive abilities, because they may not recognize someone or know their name or find the right word, and they'll feel awkward, and they don't want people to notice that, so they feel more comfortable at home or in situations with family where they're very, very comfortable with that wouldn't concern them. So people tend to withdraw a little bit and be less outgoing. That's can be one of the early signs of Alzheimer's.
Okay. And number 10, changes in mood and personality. Individuals with Alzheimer's or other dementia may become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. They might get easily upset at home or when they're out of their comfort zone. As we age, it is normal to develop a very specific way of doing things and become upset when our routine gets disrupted. But someone with Alzheimer's or dementia may become fearful, angry, or easily frustrated, which is something that should be addressed.
Another early sign of Alzheimer's or dementia is subtle changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, the family may notice the person is more easily irritated, or more impatient, or a little moody, or have a shorter fuse, or more anxious. Now, there's lots of things that can cause that, but often that can be an early symptom of Alzheimer's or go along with the early symptoms of memory loss.
Okay. So just to recap, it's important to remember that these signs are intended to be a guide to help identify problems in memory, thinking, and behavior that may be related to Alzheimer's or dementia. Individuals can experience one of these signs or all of them, or several of them in varying degrees. Everyone is different in their dementia. They do not have to experience all of them for there to be a concern. So it's important to discuss any changes in memory, thinking, or behavior that you see in someone. Discuss it with them, with their family members, or with a doctor. So those are the 10 warning signs. So now we're going to transition a little bit back towards first responders things. And this video, he's probably going to recap some of the things that we went over.
In this program, you'll hear us use a couple of terms interchangeably, dementia and Alzheimer's. Dementia is a general term that applies to a collection of symptoms that result in impaired mental abilities, people's ability to think and remember, their ability to function in everyday life. Alzheimer's disease actually is a form of dementia. It's the most common cause of dementia, with as many as 70% of dementia cases being Alzheimer's disease. And so that's the one that I want to talk to you a little bit more specifically about to help you understand really how it affects individuals and what your role can be in helping to keep people safe in the community. As many as 5 million people in the U.S. have Alzheimer's disease today, and it is a fatal, progressive disease that gradually impairs people's ability to think, remember, and to do the kinds of things that they've always done throughout their lives. There certainly are other causes of dementia, such as Parkinson's dementia, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, but Alzheimer's is the most common, and today there is no cure. There's a massive effort happening worldwide to help us better understand Alzheimer's disease and to develop effective treatments, but today our focus is really on making sure that their quality of life is enhanced, doing the kinds of things that we can do to support people with Alzheimer's in being independent, to support them in taking part in the same kinds of activities that they always have throughout their life, but making sure that they're safe while they're doing it. There are a host of resources that are available to help you do your job in keeping people safe, people with Alzheimer's. The Alzheimer's Association is a leading nonprofit organization with chapters around the country, available in every community, with staff that can connect with you to help to discuss the situation, to help you better understand Alzheimer's disease, and to deal with the kinds of things that are coming up in your community. We also have a 24-hour helpline that you can reach us anytime and talk to people who can answer your questions about Alzheimer's, help you understand what to expect when you come into contact with somebody with Alzheimer's in the community, and ultimately help you do a better job of keeping people safe in the community.
Okay. So one of the most common behaviors that you're going to see out in the community is communication. Alzheimer's and dementia can affect communication in several ways. It can cause primary progressive aphasia and decreased verbal skills. A common term you may hear is word salad. So they're still able to say full words, but they're all jumbled up in their sentences and none of it makes sense. Some people have a phrase that they like to say over and over again. I had a gal in the memory facility that used to say mine over it. That's the only word she would say. Mine, mine, mine. And you would have to try and determine what she was talking about. Or they use words, they describe something. If they can't remember the word, I had a guy ask me what was on my wrist plate, because my watch at the time was round, and he wanted to know what time it was. He couldn't remember time, he couldn't remember watch, so he asked what was on my wrist plate. It also may take a lot of time to get the words out. And I'll probably go over this a couple times, but really waiting for that processing of the brain for them to answer any kind of questions. It's also one of the most common forms of sources of frustration. They're unable to tell you what they need, if they're hungry, if they're tired, if they're in pain, if they have to go to the bathroom and they don't remember where it is or what this feeling is. Anybody here get angry when you get hungry? My husband is like, yes, the first one. He'll be like, have you eaten today? And I'll be like, oh, yeah, I am kind of cranky. That's why. They cannot put those two together. They can't, manage it, that, oh, I'm in a bad mood, I haven't eaten anything today. They can't put that together. And it can also cause behaviors. This is a big one. I like to say any type of behavior is a type of communication. They're trying to let you know what's going on, but they do not have that ability anymore. We had a resident in the memory care facility who had behavior issues and came down to, we had to kick him out because he hit another resident over the head with his walker and hurt her, and so we had to ask him to leave. And he moved into another facility, and a couple months later came to find out that he had tumors that had metastasized all over his body. So he had to be in like immense pain, and they got him on medication. They started him on treatment, and when I went and saw him, he was just the sweetest old man, like completely different from what I had known when he was at our facility. So try and remember that if they are having a behavior, they're trying to communicate something. Um, so some tips for communication. It's always a good idea to approach slowly from the front and make eye contact. As their vision changes with dementia and Alzheimer's, they lose their peripheral vision first until they're only seeing two little points straight in front of them. So if you pop in from the side right in front of them, they're not going to see you coming. You could startle them, things like that. Introduce yourself, that you're, whatever you are, you're a medic, you're there to help them, you're here for them. Use their name if possible. If they're sitting down, get down on their level. Let them know that you are there to help. Again, using one-step directions and keeping requests short will help. So open-ended questions can be very overwhelming when they have to formulate the answer by themselves. So short yes and no questions are good, or putting the answer in the question. So would you like coffee or tea? Limiting choices to 2, maybe 3. And a lot of times, sorry, that's the bird, if you can hear that. A lot of times they will choose the last option you give them. So if you say, do you want coffee or tea? They'll want tea. So knowing that can kind of help you get to where you need to be. Patience, again, giving them enough time to respond to each question can help them from getting overwhelmed or feel rushed. Like waiting an uncomfortable amount of time. Shush, bud. So when you ask that question, waiting 20, 25 seconds, which is an uncomfortable amount of waiting time. If you ask the question again, like thinking that they didn't hear you or didn't process it, or asking the question in a different form, that's going to start their thinking process all over again. So really waiting for that time to give them to respond. Touch can be very powerful. Using hand under hand is a great technique. And it's kind of hard to do over Zoom. But if you go to shake someone's hand and then you swing your hand around so you're holding on to their thumb, then you have control of that arm and you can put your other arm around their back. Typically people with Alzheimer's, if you put your hand out to shake their hand, that's an automatic thing that they are going to remember. So that's one way to get hands on them so you can safely get them to where they need to be. Body language also says a lot, and it can go both ways. If they're guarding one side, they may be in pain. Reading their actions can be big clues as to what might be wrong. But also watching your own body language is very important. If you're standing with your arms crossed, it could come off as being angry or mean. I have a type of face that people always tell me I need to smile more because I always look mad. So just being cognizant of facial expressions, different things like that, how you're standing, because if they can't understand the words that you're saying anymore, they're going to lean on nonverbal communication. So making an effort, smile, use a calm tone of voice, can help them feel more at ease. A good way to remember is to talk. Take it slow, ask simple questions, limit reality checks. We go over that in just a minute. And keep eye contact using nonverbal communication, things like that. And now we have a video.
My partner and I were dispatched actually to a long-term care facility for a gentleman with a head injury. We did not know that he had a history of dementia. We arrived on the scene, the family was on the scene, had medical power of attorney, and they stated that the gentleman actually was kind of altered in terms of his mental status. I went up, I introduced myself to the patient. He was kind of agitated. I was able to ascertain that he, in fact, did have some physical signs of a head injury. Being a problem solver I really wanted to sit down with him and kind of try to get him to come to the hospital with me because he was so agitated. He really was not willing at that point to kind of get up and come on the stretcher with me. I asked for a minute. I sat next to him. I spoke slowly. I spoke softly to him. I placed my hand on his arm. It really calmed him down. We talked for about 5 minutes about his occupation on the railroad. And within 5 minutes, he was willing and ready to kind of come to the hospital with me. And with my background as a problem solver, it really worked well. And we didn't have to restrain him, and it worked out for everyone.
There it is. I keep losing that unmute button. So wandering is very common. 70% of people with dementia will wander at some point, and you will not know that they are going to wander until they are wandering. It is considered an emergency. 50% of people risk serious injury or death if not found within 24 hours. And it can happen any way they can go: on foot, by car, other forms of transportation, however they can wander. So here's sorry, these videos are super cheesy. I apologize.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Officer Alonzo. Going for a walk today?
I'm looking for my brother.
Is your name Mr. Wheeler?
Yes?
Mr. Wheeler, your daughter's very worried about you.
I don't have a daughter.
I believe her name is Molly Majors.
Oh, Molly. Yes, yes.
Would you like to go see her?
Okay.
How about I give you a ride? We'll go see Molly.
You're taking me to
We'll go see Molly.
Good, thank you,
You're
officer.
welcome. You're welcome.
I've been lost. I was looking for my brother.
Oh, that's understandable.
We took these trains, before.
So, one thing I want to point out from this video is that it is the perfect scenario. Everything goes smoothly. The officer mentions his daughter's name, and he magically remembers that he has a daughter. So this is not always going to work. A good technique that we like to use is called validation therapy. So you enter into their reality. The part of their brain in charge of reasoning is simply gone, and pushing that reasoning with them, trying to orient them to reality, is only going to make things harder for you. So if he says he does not have a daughter, then in his mind, he really doesn't have one. But he gave you some clues as to what's going on. He said he was looking for his brother. So you could ask for the brother's name. Oh, it's Jim. I think he's looking for you too. Can I take you to him? He was talking about the trains. That's another distraction that you could use to distract him, to get him to where he needs to be, somewhere safe. Some search tips. In the immediate area, I want to say it's about, on foot, they can get about a half a mile per hour. But don't rule out somewhere just because it's not on like a path that you would normally take. They will walk as the crow flies. They will cross fields. They will go down in ditches. And look further back from the road as well, backyards, behind buildings. We had a guy get out of our courtyard. He scaled a 8-foot wrought iron fence. He piled up the patio furniture, scaled the fence, and got out. So they are very crafty. When looking for people, hotels, always check the hotels. People are surprisingly nice. We had one guy wander away from our assisted living. We looked for him all night, put out the silver alert in the morning, and the local Motel 8, like down the road, called and was like, "Hey, he spent the night here last night. He's eating breakfast in the lobby." He didn't have any ID, any money, but they were nice enough to give him a room for the night. So always check in with the hotels. You know, before we had our phones, if we were lost, you'd stop at a gas station and ask for directions. So that's probably what they're going to do too. If they think that they might be lost, they might go into a gas station. We had one gas station attendant help us find someone because he had been walking in and out of the gas station asking for directions to his work because he had a meeting that he had to get to, and we were able to find him from that. Local businesses, places that are open to the public. You know, if they're a local farmer, check the ranch and home, things like that. Restaurants, anywhere that you can just walk in and go into. If you find the missing person, they might insist that they're going somewhere else, such as home or a different state. Again, this is when you're going to want to bring in that validation therapy. Oh, you're going home to Indiana. Okay, that's a long trip. Why don't we have some lunch first? And then I can take you to the bus stop. Or well, you know, it's cold in Indiana right now, so let's go get you a jacket and some good clothes to take with you, and then we can get going. And that can distract them long enough for you to get them to a safe space. Just for time, I am gonna skip this next video. Oh, I think I took it out anyway. Okay, so firearms. This is something you guys might run into if you're going into homes, things like that. They are in 60% of homes where a person with dementia lives, there are firearms. I thought that was alarmingly high. And I cover kind of the same areas that you guys cover. It's a lot of rural counties, things like that. You have a lot of hunters, a lot of farmers. Firearms in the homes of people with dementia can lead to emergency situations. People with Alzheimer's and dementia might not recognize family members, such as their spouse who lives with them. Other family members, you know, their kids who are coming over to help, things like that. They might think that there's an intruder in the house. Poor lighting and sundowning. Sometimes people tend to get a little more confused as the night goes on. As the sun goes down, they can see a reflection in the window of themselves and think that someone is outside. And different types of dementia can also cause hallucinations. I had a gal at the assisted living who every night there would be children running through her apartment, and she would complain about it. What are we going to do about the kids who keep running through my apartment? So lots of different things can lead to someone grabbing a gun to defend themselves, things like that. And they might have been an avid hunter their whole life, but the disease has now robbed them of their basic gun safety. They might not even recognize it as a gun anymore, or they might not remember what it's called, but remember that they can hurt someone with it. So if the family does wish to keep firearms in the house, we do, you know, ask that they keep them locked up and safe, stored unloaded, and keep the ammunition away from the gun, stored in another locked space. and keep those keys and combinations and things hidden from them. We're going to hear from a expert, an officer expert.
Many times the officers will respond to a person's home and discover that there's a person with dementia that lives there. In some cases, a police officer could be threatened by that person because they misunderstand the presence of that officer and they don't recognize the authority of that police officer. So they become afraid and they threaten the police officer. Officers have been threatened with items such as a sharp stick. That sharp stick turned out to be a samurai sword from World War II. Another police officer was threatened with a pineapple, and that pineapple turned out to be a pineapple grenade from World War II, and 12 grenades were actually found in that person's home. Another incident was a person that threatened a police officer with a laser gun. The laser gun turned out to be a 4-inch Smith & Wesson revolver. You see, these people forgot what the original name of these things were, so they knew they could still use them, but they renamed them. And as a police officer, you have to understand that if you do receive a threat by something that sounds simple or sounds like it's nothing, you have to assume that that could be something. It could be a very serious threat. And so you need to do something. If you are threatened, you need to back out, get help, come back and search for the item that you've been threatened with, because it really could turn out to be a very serious issue.
Okay, moving on to abuse and neglect. Abuse is the infliction of physical or psychological harm or the knowing deprivation of goods or services necessary to meet essential needs or avoid harm. And neglect is the failure to perform caretaking functions and responsibilities essential for the safe care of a person with dementia. You also, with Alzheimer's and dementia, you also see a lot of self-neglect. So they're unable to perform these caretaking functions for themselves. Some signs of neglect: dehydration or malnutrition, unmanaged bed sores is a big one, hypothermia or hyperthermia, excessive dirt and odor, unsafe living conditions. If the AC goes out in the middle of the summer and they can't fix it, things like that. Inadequate and inappropriate clothing. This is a kind of difficult one. You have to kind of use your senses on it. So people with dementia, if they are sometimes they will put on multiple layers of shirts. Sometimes women will put on blouse and then
Julie, something just happened with your microphone and it got a little quiet. Do you mind seeing if we can get it?
I wonder if I bumped it. Is
There
that
you
better?
go. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. My daughter like pulls on it, so sometimes it gets a little loose. So sometimes women will put on their shirt and then their bra and then a jacket and then another shirt. So knowing this, if you go into a house or somewhere and there's someone sitting, it's the middle of summer, it's like 100 degrees outside, and they're sitting on the couch with multiple layers on and a blanket, but the AC is running and it's pretty cool in the house and they're probably fine, then that's okay. But if they are in a tank top and shorts and they're walking down the street in the middle of winter, that's when you're gonna want to think of the signs of neglect. So there we go. There's a video for it.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Officer Roberts. How you doing today?
I'm fine. Would you like to come in?
Sure. I just want to make sure you're okay. Is everything all right here?
No. I think someone came in here and stole my purse.
What does it look like?
It's black, and someone took it.
Is that your purse? You know, it's pretty cold in here. Is your furnace working?
I don't know.
Is there any food in the house?
Well, I don't want to eat right now. I'm not hungry now.
No, maybe we should talk to a social worker.
Do you have to?
Yeah, I think it might be necessary.
So again, super cheesy, but you get the point. The excessive mess of the house. It's cold. There's probably no food in the house. So you will see self-neglect in people who living alone. During COVID, actually, we saw about a 16% increase in the dementia symptoms for people who were diagnosed already. They tended to have a decrease in their abilities. Families not coming over and checking on them as much. So make sure to connect with family. Another sign that you don't always think about is the animals. If there are animals living there, there's the dog food bowl full of like chips and cereal with a dog food bag right next to it. So the person remembers that they have to feed the animal, but they don't register that the dog food is for the dog. So they feed them other things, things like that. Always try and connect with family, reach out to social services. Definitely follow through if you guys have to report to Adult Protective Services, things like that, to help them get the services that they need if they are having some self-neglect. So abusive behavior from the person with dementia. This one this one always bothers me a little bit because the person with dementia cannot consciously abuse their caregiver. It is in every way abuse. They will hit, they will bite, they will yell, they will scream. But it is a symptom of their dementia. They cannot consciously do it. They may be frustrated and not know how to communicate. They might be frightened and resist care aggressively. They might make accusations based on misinterpretations. So the daughter comes in and takes mom's jewelry because she's afraid that she's going to lose them. And then the mom accuses the caregiver of stealing her jewelry because she doesn't know where it is. She doesn't remember that her daughter came in and took it for safekeeping. Like the lady with the purse. If you think about it, if you woke up, you didn't know where you were, some person came in, got you up and got you into the bathroom super quick and then started taking off all your clothes, you would probably fight back too. If you don't know what's going on. So things like that, again, misinterpretations, miscommunication, things like that can lead to abusive behavior from the person with dementia. And I always, try and reiterate, any kind of behavior is a form of communication. They're trying to tell you something. So, oops.
We're on the scene at 7502 Palma. We're gonna check it out.
You know, I've been to this house before. The husband's not all there. He usually takes it out on the wife, but she will not press charges.
All right, let's go. Why don't you deal with the wife since you've been here before?
All right, sounds good.
What's going on?
We're here for domestic situation.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I just fell.
Frankly, ma'am, we've had reports of screaming and things being thrown. Was there something that had upset your husband?
I don't know. He was watching a TV program and then he started yelling at me. And I fell.
Has this happened before?
Yes, and this is where I belong and
Yes.
nobody else should be. I don't know.
He gets confused, especially at night. It's not his fault. He just gets upset and I don't know what to do. The doctor says he has dementia.
This is my house, and it's not.
Well, we need to get you to a doctor. We also need to get some medical attention for your husband as well.
I know, but I don't want him in trouble.
He's not going to be in trouble. You both just need medical attention.
Want anybody in here?
All right.
Anybody in here? It's just me. Okay.
This exact scenario might not be something that you guys encounter, but you could. And if you could hear the police officer and the man in the back, the man was saying, "I live here alone. This is my house. No one should be here." So he clearly does not remember that he has a wife, does not recognize her anymore, and thought that she was intruding in his house. The officer in the back was not doing a great job. He was standing over the man. When the man tried to stand up, he kind of pushed him down, things like that. So again, using those communication techniques, getting down on his level, agreeing with him, yes, we're going to find out who this lady is, why don't we take you guys both in and get you some help, things like that. So disaster response. So people with dementia may become more confused with traumatic situations. They have a limited ability to understand and remember directions and explanations. They become easily agitated, frustrated, or overwhelmed, especially when things are kind of being rushed. And they're more prone to wander, such as back into a dangerous area, back into a burning building, things like that. So you're going to want to keep an extra eye on them.
I know there's a fire in the building, but my husband, he won't leave.
Okay, well, we have to go to the second floor, ma'am, for the fire.
He has Alzheimer's and he won't go.
All right, is there anything special he likes to do or anybody he likes to spend time with?
Well, he loves his grandson.
What's the boy's name?
David.
Okay, you go with this firefighter, I'll go bring him out. Mr. Marks? Sir, I'm with the fire department. We need to get you out of the building. Sir? Sir, your grandson. He's outside.
David?
Yes, David.
Where?
Outside. Come with me. I'll help you find him.
Hello, David? Oh, I'm okay. I love you too.
So again, this might not be an exact example of what you guys are going to see in the field, but if you do help with any kind of disaster or a bigger emergency, definitely some things to remember. That firefighter did good. He learned something that the man liked. He got down on his level. He said, "Come with me, I'll help you find him," things like that. Again, using one-step directions. Have someone watch the person once you get them to a safe space. Find a quiet place if possible to limit the distractions. Provide time for responses. This isn't always available in emergency situations, but as much as you can, it'll help them from feeling overwhelmed and rushed. Using distraction and redirection is really going to help in emergency situations. If there is any kind of big community emergency and you have a space that you're keeping the children, that would be a great spot for them to be, because usually people with dementia love children. I don't know what it is, but in my experience, they do. You can give them a purpose. You can say, "Hey, we really need help keeping an eye on these kids. Can you help? Can you help out?" And there will be another adult there to help watch that person with dementia. Asking them to help you can really help, because they'll feel productive. We had one gal who just she always wanted to be helping, and so I gave her a clipboard and said, "Hey, I need you to count how many rooms we have on the hallway." And she would go down one side and just make little check marks on the clipboard and come up, and then she wouldn't remember that she had done it, so she would do it again and again and again. And so that would keep her busy. So giving them a clipboard, say, make a tick mark for each person that's in this area, things like that. Something simple to distract them and keep them where they are. If they are in an unsafe space, a burning building, for example, and they don't want to leave, I've never met a person with Alzheimer's or dementia that did not like ice cream. Taste is one of the things that actually goes away when you have dementia and Alzheimer's, and the sweetness is the taste that lingers, that they can taste for longer. So hey, we got some ice cream outside, everybody's having a bowl. Why don't you come with me and I'll show you? You can get them to the safe space. You might feel a little bad lying to them. Typically, they will forget on the way that you're going for that. Or if you get them to the hospital, things like that, the hospital will probably have ice cream. You can put that on the nurses. So, all right, I think there's just one more emergency video.
This is not. No, I can't find my keys.
Mickey, you're okay.
I can't find my keys.
We'll find
Someone took my keys.
Hi, folks. We will find it.
How's it going?
Well, my husband, he is not used to being away from home. He doesn't know why we are here and why we had to leave.
Okay, what's his name?
His name is Mickey.
Hi, Mickey. I'm Joe. I'm a paramedic. And I'm glad that you're here. You're safe here. And actually, we could use your help. Could you help us?
Yeah, sure. Come on, sure.
Right this way.
So the paramedic did good. He got down on his level. He introduced himself, reminded him that he was safe, and then got him a job for him to do to keep him busy. So, good job. Our services. So with my grant, I cover Kittitas County all the way down through Asotin County. I think there was just one county that you guys cover that I am not in. But a lot of our services are available in your guys' area. Our 24/7 helpline is available to anyone, anytime. It's master level clinicians who answer the phone. So if you have just a random question at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, hey, I want to know more about this. Or if you have a family that's in crisis with their person with dementia and they don't know what to do, they can take those middle of the night calls. They do also have several languages available. I want to say 150 different languages available on that helpline. Caregiving support groups, we do currently have one in the Tri-Cities that meets twice a week. We had one down in Walla Walla. I think we're looking for a new facilitator for that one. And there are a couple I know of in Yakima, but they're not through the Alzheimer's Association, but they are there in the Harmon Center. Our early stage memory loss programs, we have memory cafes. These are for people with early stage memory loss and their care partner, their family, their friend, whoever wants to come with them. You just come and sit, get a cup of coffee, and visit with other people who are going through the same kind of memory loss stuff as they are, so they have someone to talk with. We really try to make the forgetting normal. We normalize it. So currently we have a memory cafe in Richland, in Clarkston, in Ellensburg, and Walla Walla. And I can send over the flyers and stuff for those so you guys have them. Our care consultations, you can get set up with those through the helpline, calling that number. All of our care consults are in Western Washington, in like Seattle area, but they do Zoom consults and things like that. We have education programs like the one that I provided today. They're for free. We have several. Know the 10 warning signs is a longer education program. I just took some info from that. Understanding Alzheimer's and dementia, responding to dementia-related behaviors, things like that. We have a whole ton of them, and we can come and do those for any kind of group, church groups, professional groups, any kind of thing like that. Online stuff we have a ton of. There's a community resource finder. There's the Alzheimer's Navigator and Alz Connected for caregivers. We go over things like driving, firearms, more of that. Just any kind of topic that you might have questions of, you can search and find it there on our website at alz.org. We also have volunteers help us with the Walk to End Alzheimer's and the Longest Day. Those are our two biggest fundraisers. All of the programs and services that we provide for people are free. Our helpline is free. Our education programs, all of that care and support stuff is free. So we fund those through our Walk to End Alzheimer's and the Longest Day fundraisers. And we do have walks in Yakima, Tri-Cities, Clarkston, Lewiston, Clarkston do it together. I think it's the 4 cities walk. And then even up into like Wenatchee, Moses Lake area. So what else? I think I will be starting a new early stage memory loss programs in the Tri-Cities and Yakima this year. So they're gonna kind of be like our memory cafes, but with a more structured program. So like a music program or a book club for people with memory loss, a walking group, things like that. They're not up and running yet, but they will be running soon. So I'll keep you guys updated on those. I also do a program called Powerful Tools for Caregivers. Again, this is free. It's a 6-week course that family caregivers can take. We teach them communication skills, stress identification and management, how to take care of themselves so that they can better take care of their person, things like that. Okay, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's disease and all other dementias. And our mission is to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through advancement of research, to provide an enhanced care and support for all affected, and to reduce the risk of dementia through the promotion of brain health. So, are there any questions? And this is my info as well. Please feel free to share with anyone who might need some help. You can always refer them to me.
This is absolutely helpful. Thank you so much, Julie. This is just a great reminder, not just for first responders, but for every single person. I mean, no matter what it is, it tends to not be a problem until it's your problem. So it's great to start equipping yourself until you're faced with these types of things when it happens with your own personal life and your family. It was just everything was just popping up, things that have happened with the family in the past of like, oh my gosh, all the things we could have done differently, all the things that we could have approached differently, reached out for help. And I know it's just so much more, or it can have such a large impact when you're able to reach out for support and resources outside of your family, to get folks to come into the home and to work with personally with grandma was a lot helpful than us trying to navigate through those very rocky, rough waters.
Yes, it is so tough. And a lot of times they won't let family help. They know that you're their family, they don't want you to help, but you bring in an outside caregiver and they're just the sweetest, most compliant patient. It is really tough.
Yes, I do. I know we have some folks on our community paramedicine partners that are on here too, and they have shared some stories how they've had a little bit more success connecting with families and convincing them to go to the next steps of help.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Any other questions? Well, I am always available. Again, this is my information. So if there are questions later, please feel free to email me or give me a call. And I can come back and do another presentation, maybe later in the year, on a more specific topic. But please let me know if you need anything. We're always here. We're in the area to help.
Thank you so much, Julie. We so appreciate it. And I hope you get a chance to read the wonderful comments in the chat. We are also very grateful for this wonderful training and the information that you're sharing. Thank you so much. And we have just a few housekeeping items before we log off. Here's my contact information as well if you're in need of anything related to learning collaboratives or if there's anything that I can help you with. And we wanted to share that we do have our next learning collaborative topic has been finalized and that we have a save the date for you. So on Thursday, the 25th of July from 1 to 2:30, we're going to be discussing cross-sector communication, contractual partnerships between healthcare and community-based organizations. So we're really excited for this topic. We think it's very timely with all of our conversations going on and are excited to bring together some community-based organizations and healthcare organizations and talk about positive interactions and strategies for success. So we really hope that you will join us for that, and we'll send out more information as it is forthcoming. And the one last thing, if you could take a few moments, we would really appreciate your feedback on today's presentation. And also an open-ended question for any topics that you would love to learn about moving forward for the Learning Collaborative. So you can scan the QR code or there's a link in the chat to just get some of your insights. And we so appreciate you spending some of your morning with us today. That is just a privilege to see all of your smiling faces. So other than an ask to complete the form, that is all that we have for today. So I will stick around if there's any questions or comments, but we really appreciate everyone for joining.
All right, thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Julie. We really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.